Hello, this is Craig Mertens, Director of Education and Growth for Inktavo. We have a couple special guests here today. I have Davis Slagle, Vice President of BeeGraphix, and then Paul Whittaker from Pro Transfers, formerly Demand Print. And so we are going to be talking about how you connect DTF to online stores. And what I'd like to do first, I'm going to kick it off to Davis, and we want to do origin stories. And I've been working with you and your dad for quite a few years. Not supervillain origin stories, just for reference. But origin story is kind of how you guys got in the business. I know every business evolves, and the way what you do when you start it sometimes is very different from the way it evolves. But what did your business look like back in the screen printing days, and what led you to the shift to DTF? How did it all start?
Yeah, you can go back to 2004 in Digital Art Solutions discs that we still have in the office. So
Wow.
there's some years back there, but we're BeeGraphix, a shop located outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we are on our 21st anniversary this year from when we took over and bought the business. And for a long time, we were a traditional mom and pop manual automatic screen print shop with some heat presses. In the 2015s, we saw a need for team stores, and we struggled with them. We would print bulk orders for people, then we'd try to launch a team store with deadlines and running it with screen printing and trying to close the order, get everybody their stuff. And if one thing was missing or one thing had to be added, it was an absolute nightmare. And while we were growing and we saw the positive sides of that, we were kind of stale and stagnant for quite a few years, really up until COVID, where we got shut down by the government. We didn't get a pass and we had bottomed out. But that year was a little different for us, right? We, instead of doing the same thing, uh, found some technology overseas and invested quite a bit of money in a time that investment was not a lot of people were doing. Um, Looking back on it, I'd probably call it more of a bet than an investment.
Right.
And that was bringing in the first generation of direct to film technology. We already had a base of stores that we were trying to run, but we saw that there could be a better way to do e-commerce, to do small run jobs. Um, and really it unlocked a different part of our business because we're in a rural area, probably like a lot of the listeners here, right? Orders come in, there may be 12 kids on a team or 15 kids, right? It's not volume enough to have to screen print all that stuff. And this really opened up that under 48 or under 72 potential for us that allows us to hit colors and uh, pretty much stop saying no to people.
Yeah, and that's
The
wow. You sold your screen printing equipment. You
Yeah,
literally sold it.
by the end of 2021, we didn't have a single piece of screen printing equipment left in our building. There is one screen still here. We kept one as kind of like a trophy, like a participation trophy. But we've invested heavily in the process, in the equipment, in the staffing, in the training, and built a whole production department based off of this technology. It wasn't just buy the printer and solve all your problems.
Well, it's interesting having the two of you on the panel today. It dawns on me that you're two of the early pioneers in the DTF world. And certainly, Paul, you on the transfer side of things, and Davis, you on the rolling the dice, buying some equipment from overseas and figuring out how to it works. But Paul, what I want to ask you is your background quickly before you got into this. I know it, but I think the listeners would like to know that. And how did Pro Transfers come to be? And also, what opportunity do you see in the DTF market that made you want to jump in here?
Sure. I mean, first of all, the opinions expressed here are 100% my own. So, Craig, you're off the hook if I say anything no one agrees with. Um, my obvious, honestly, it started about 30 plus years ago, Craig. I'm 52. Birthday was a couple days ago. But when I was 2021, I helped my sister in Iowa start a screen printing shop. She was just coming out of community college. Ran that with her for a couple of years. And then, my interest led me to technology. And that's really my passion, has been technology. So, I started, writing web pages and getting involved in technology and the internet, when AOL Online was still sending out discs in magazines, right? For anyone who remembers those days. And in fact, oddly, I remember the day I decided to get into this, I was literally watching the O.J. Simpson trial on television. So that ages me a little bit there. And then I spent, and then so I left this space, and then I ran off and I did internet startups. I spent some time in Dallas working for Nokia mobile phones, doing video games with mobile games for about 13 years. And then I ended up landing in the Bay Area, and I spent a lot of time in AI and healthcare startups there. But my passion, regardless, has always just been technology. And man, the internet was an amazing boom, and AI is right now just an amazing boom as well. But a few years ago, I left the Bay Area around COVID time, and decided to move my family to Montana. So here I am in Bozeman, Montana, in our offices here. And my sister called me back, and she said, "Hey, there's this new thing that's really starting to mature and take off that is going to be a massive disruptor. It's called direct film transfers. Do you want to take a look at it?" And honestly, Craig, I was so kind of like excited about it that I dropped everything else I was doing to dive into this, because I recognized in direct to film transfer what I saw in the telecom space when Apple came out with a touchscreen phone and how that just destroyed Nokia's business. I watched the mobile game space go from, a Snake on a Nokia phone to the most advanced games on a touchscreen, and what that disruption, what kind of chaos that created, what kind of opportunity, what kind of ladder that created for people who were willing to get engaged to grow a brand new business. And then when I saw direct to film and I saw screen printing, it was pretty clear to me that this was going to be a very disruptive technology in the apparel decoration space, and it was a great time to get involved. And I wanted to go somewhere and do something where I could leverage my passion for technology with a space that was being disrupted. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar a year industry, and DTF is one of the most disruptive forces in this space, as far as I can tell, in the last decade. And I just wanted to be a part of that. And lastly, Craig, I really saw it as an opportunity to also bring technology to this that would help create value in local markets and help people grow businesses, and, creating the stores like what Davis is doing and what you guys work on. It's just creating a lot of opportunity, and I wanted to be a part of it. So short question, long answer. I apologize, but there's my background and why I'm in this.
That's perfect. And you and I are friends. And the one thing that I've always admired about you is your ability to think forward down the road, not think for the moment. You're always planning ahead, and you always have that next step lined up. And Davis, you guys are the same way. You're in our industry. You're certainly one of the innovators, and super curious. I know when you first started on this DTF and we're doing the testing, Davis, that you were ordering transfers through one of the early pioneer transfer companies. And what was it that kind of made you make the leap from, hey, listen, I'm not going to order transfers anymore. I'm going to, import some equipment from overseas and give this a shot. What was the driving force behind that?
The driving force was the ability to want to be able to do one in-house. It's always been get to the quantity of one. And even though we have our own printers, it doesn't mean we still always make our own transfers. So we're a hybrid use case, right? Like, there's times where it's better to contract my stuff out for 1,000 pieces of transfers than it is to fill up my machines with more profitable stuff. So it's not all about being able to do it in-house, and I don't want it to be positioned that way. But it was the need to be able to turn like DTG, but with screen printing quality, on multiple garments, fabrics, product types. DTG is some people would say better quality on the perfect combination of t-shirt with the perfect combination of ink. But as soon as you start hitting some off products or some off placements, that gets a little more difficult. And what I realized is transfers are pretty flexible, and you can move garments around on platens pretty easy with a heat press. So I wanted to really dig in to see if I could find this technology and get it in my door. And through a network of contacts of people around the world, it led me to someone overseas that let me take that first gamble, and really test it out. And once we washed enough of them, failed enough times for over 6 months in a row without telling anybody about this, we thought we had finally put a formula together that was good enough to go to market with. Are we running the same formula today? Absolutely not. That's the whole learning curve of it. But it was the first big step forward to learn how the process works, and to truly understand that, yes, this is here. Yes, the customer is okay with the print. We're not getting negative feedback. Quality is holding up, right? And once we got validation of that, that's when the floodgates opened.
You know, it's interesting going back on the trade show circuit. I didn't see a DTF printer until, I guess it would have been January 2021. I believe it was at the Impression Show, and it was the first time I actually saw one. And you know, every show is the DTF show now. You go to a trade show now, and even like a small show like DAX, and big shout out to the folks at DAX. If you're not participating in the DAX shows, you need to. They're wonderful small shows, and I know, Paul, you feel the same way about it. But you know, half the vendors there are somehow connected with DTF. And you know, I think the question that I want to pose to Paul is really around, you know, from your perspective, when is it going to make sense for somebody that's involved in the DTF world as consuming transfers from, let's say, your company, to look at, you know, getting into their own equipment? When does it make sense? And kind of a follow-up question, what do they really need to know up front, maybe that their supplier is not going to tell them, that they probably didn't consider before they made the leap?
Yeah. First of all, Davis, I volunteer if you need any outsource transfers.
Perfect. We put a deal together.
Yeah, that's great. And so, I mean, I get asked this question a lot, Craig, and I think my opinion is probably a bit controversial. And I think maybe, you know, I'm happy to admit maybe a bit biased, because our business is selling transfers. I'll give you my honest answer, what I genuinely think, what I tell folks all the time, and when we're at the trade shows. When it comes to buying a DTF printer, first of all, I feel like a lot of times they're sold as desktop printers, and the fact is they're not. And they are commercial pieces of equipment today. This is kind of in the grounds where I feel like, this is my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt, right? But my experience is that they're commercial pieces of equipment, which means you need parts, you need to know how to run them, you need a lot of detail around them. And I'm giving you that background because my answer to your question is, I think about when is it time to buy a DTF printer in terms of three numbers: 500,000, $1 million, and 1.5 million. If you're outsourcing today, anywhere south of 500,000 square inches worth of actual printed prints on a monthly basis, I think you should be outsourcing. I think if you get above 500,000 or in that range, the decision you're going to make is not an economic decision. It's a lifestyle decision, right? It is, I'm not just buying a printer, I'm committing to a team. I'm committing to educating myself. You're committing to starting that journey of time and trade to really learn how to use these machines to create quality prints consistently over time. Right, getting the same color every single time, getting the same thermopolyurethane bond and cure every single time, so you have reliable production. And that does take some time in trade. It's not the way it's sold at trade shows. It's sold as a desktop printer. But if you get away from the sales guy and you talk to the person sitting there, the tech running that machine, ask yourself, why is there a tech sitting there running that machine at the show? Get that person away for a coffee in the morning and ask them this question. Like, yeah, it takes a little bit of know-how. The second number, that million, if you're outsourcing 1 million square inches a month, you're starting to approach the economic decision, in my opinion. Do the unit economics for how much am I paying for every transfer, they start to sort of go from, hey, I'm better off outsourcing to I'm really better off printing it on my own. You could be creating a job in your local market for somebody. I mean, being a printer tech on a DTF printer, you could be paying somebody $50,000, $60,000 a year to have that job, and you're creating a job in your community. You're giving somebody an education in a reasonably technical field that'll allow them to build a career for themselves. And so, at that level, I think it makes a lot of sense to look at actually, hiring somebody in your local market. Because Craig, I'm like a big believer in creating value in local markets, and with everything that's happening in the world today with AI and everything else, like if you have an opportunity to create jobs, I'm just a big believer in creating value in local markets and jobs for people. And I'll wrap that up with the whole thing. And what you asked, what to know up front, I kind of said in the beginning, when you're buying a printer, know up front that you're making a commitment to education, learning time and trade, potentially even like a team of people. And that's purely based on my experience with us running a large commercial print shop with a fleet of large format printers. And then, I'm sure, Davis, you've probably experienced the same thing and could weigh in on that.
Davis, what I was going to ask you is, you brought printing in-house. What are some of the things that you gotta have to prepare yourself for that you might not expect?
All right, so DTF is not push button and profit. That is the easiest headline of that.
Right.
That just doesn't exist. There's so many things that need to happen. Maintenance is real, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly maintenance on the equipment to keep it at a full optimization. Color consistency takes a whole world of dialing in on that. Even myself, who thought we understood them, printers, actually just brought in Color Gamma Consulting to remap all of our colors, right? So we're hitting the best possible colors, vibrancies for our customers. We're 4 years into this, and we thought we had so many PMS colors, but we kept running into the same nagging issues all the time. Grays or blues, grays or purple, all the fun things that people run into. And the stuff we didn't know by hiring somebody just really opened up a lot of gates for us. File prep, how the file goes from approved to the printer can kill you if you're running all this stuff yourself. If you're running web stores, we were manually clicking in hundreds or thousands of files a day. Sounds great. Labor adds up fast. Some people were just clicking files for 8 to 10 hours a day. And the labor from the screen printing world and transitioning into DTF didn't disappear. It shifted roles, right? So that's kind of it. You're not just changing one thing to the next and saving money there. It's just changing jobs. And really the big thing is you're not just buying a printer. You're investing in a whole production department, like its own production department, because you don't just have the printer. You have the humidity room, you have the controlled environment, you have where you keep your supplies, you have where the heat presses are, how the orders come in. It's a whole nother environment, the same setup you would have if you were a screen printer. And if you're not willing to do that or want to do that, right, or not able to just yet, that's where you rely on a partner to help solve that stuff, and you bring in the pieces you can handle to help offload some of that weight.
100%. I agree with you on the one-off side of things. That's a great motivator for bringing in equipment in house. If you're on a print on demand business model, one thing I was going to ask you, Paul, is I know this from real world experiences. I ordered a lot of transfers. I was kind of the merch guy here at Inktavo, doing all of our trade show shirts and coordinating with suppliers, and I was the one with the heat press, so I got to do all our trade show shirts. And I can personally attest there is a huge variance between quality on DTF transfers, night and day. The way they wash, the way they feel, the way they peel versus hot peel, cold peel, 2-second peel. The letters are lifting because it's small text. There's a lot of variables. And I know it's gotten better, but I know how you operate because we share a lot of customers, and your transfers are amongst the best in the biz, if not the best in the biz. And how is it that you've positioned Pro Transfer in the market? And why are decorators deciding to go with you versus one of your competitors?
Yeah, that's a good tee up. I have so many answers running through my head right now. I guess if I was to sum it up, here's what we're trying to be, Craig. We're trying to take this role of being an in-house team on an outsource basis. Okay. And if I explain that a little bit further, there's a lot of folks that print and sell direct to film transfers, and it's just volume. How many can I sell? Right. And at the same time, much like Davis, you have your own in-house team, but so do other companies like a Wilson Athletics or somebody that's doing stuff for Disney or ESPN, right? They have an in-house team that they don't outsource that. And they build this kind of like time and trade, and they understand everything from the thermopolyurethane level and understand the science and the delta E color variations and all this nerdy stuff that's falling out of my mouth here. Like, they understand that, and they have a real focus on quality, but they provide it for their in-house folks. And one of the things that we really try to do at Pro Transfers is we try to act like an in-house team on an outsource basis. And it's really hard to do. It's really hard to run a fleet of large format printers and maintain the color consistency that Davis was talking about, maintain the reliable sort of like press after press after press. And so we just kind of try to position ourselves as a partner, and we want our customers to think of us as their sort of like secret weapon in-house team in the back. That's about the best way that I can describe it without getting too businessy or too nerdy.
Our shared customers, and obviously Printavo and InkSoft and Order My Gear, have a pretty big installed user base. And one of the things, the consistent pieces of feedback that I hear from people when they select their transfer vendor is, does that person remove the friction around the order intake and artwork intake process? And some of the, mileage may vary. Sometimes I feel like some of the suppliers out there, transfers, have built their intake system to just make it easy for them, not easy for the end user. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about ordering transfers from you guys. This is really easy to order. And if my artwork isn't good, your system will tag it, and you'll give me a solution to fix it. Versus a surprise, here's the transfer that doesn't look great.
And if I can break in on that just a little bit, I mean, this is when we started Pro Transfers, I thought about this from kind of like a first principle standpoint. And like, one of the things that we realized is artwork is a huge part of the equation. And this is our philosophy. We looked at it and thought gang sheeting is really bad for quality, because it creates an environment where you're really, by gang sheeting and sending in gang sheets, what you're actually doing is you're letting your printer off the hook for quality, and you're actually making it easier for them. And from day one, we just decided we wanted to be able to look at every piece of artwork on an individual basis, collect data about that artwork, and then to be able to help our customers quality check each individual piece of artwork that comes in the door. And it's obviously a time and money saver that you don't have to gang sheet, and you don't have to cut it when it comes in the mail to you. But I see that as a side benefit. I see the primary benefit as a quality driver, right? Because now all of a sudden we can look at that piece of artwork, we can understand it, we can help you fix it. If you send us a gang sheet, we don't know where one piece of art starts and one ends, and we can't look at the resolution and the colors on these things, on an individualized basis. And so, that's just, we wanted to make it really easy to order and meet folks that are ordering transfers where they're at in their level of knowledge on artwork and their level of knowledge on DTF, and not try to force them into a scenario that makes it easier for us to just print as many transfers as we could throw out the door. Because at the end of the day, those customers are only successful if their customers are happy with the final outcome. And we have to do everything we can to make sure that our production of your transfer sets you up for success with your customer, and that's the driving principle behind the technology we're kind of like try to put behind how we're accepting our orders.
Yeah, you make a really good point about the gang sheet thing. I've always felt like gang sheets were just set up for the benefit of the printer, not necessarily the end user. And what you touched on is, if you treat every individual art upload independently, you can QC every single one of those pieces of art. And there might be, if it's all on one sheet, it's treated as a singular graphics file,
Yeah.
and color, all the variables, color correction and resolution. And, Davis, you have that same issue in your system. You're ganging on your end. You're going and treating every single piece of artwork as its own independent thing, but then you guys are ganging for output. That seems like, in the context of somebody that's printing in-house, or even it seems like it's your responsibility. It shouldn't be on the responsibility of the end user to do that. What are your thoughts on that, Davis?
So yes, for ganging, we would say more batching.
Yeah.
For workflow purposes, we don't print transfers for other people.
Right.
We control our own stuff. So I don't. We move our artwork upstream. We control our colors from the color palette that's coming in. We have minimum line thicknesses. Everything is set. So when it actually is getting to the printer, it is in optimized shape to be print, cut, for size and for speed, really for the ease of use when it gets to the heat press. We're not afraid to waste a little bit of film to make somebody's life easier for cutting or for heat pressing. We like square lines. We like clean, simple things to put on all the time. So the person that's applying has a repeatable, familiar transfer that they're getting no matter what size.
That's a great point. And when, you order in gang sheets and you cut it yourself, it's so much easier to have a square cut, consistent margin from image because for lining up on the press. And so, you actually have that extra labor step of doing that, cutting them to order. So Davis, this question's for you. I did total up your number of InkSoft stores you have. You're just over 1,400 active stores right now.
Okay.
And so the question would be is, how do online stores kind of fit into your overall business today? And then how does, InkSoft fit into your workflow and help you to manage all that complexity?
Yeah. So if you consider like a Boeing 747, right? There's 4 engines on that plane. InkSoft is one of our 4 engines that makes us go. It is one of our core pillars. What it does is it gives us an area to create a predictable and repeatable order flow that we can rely on daily. Instead of running around chasing all these different customers down or trying to handle all these one-off orders through Venmo or text or whatever, we're managing a system that is managing all of these orders for us. And InkSoft's role in this is really, it is the central hub for every order across all these stores of where they're coming in from every day. When customers shop with us, right, they have a standardized experience, and we know what we're going to get every time we build a shop for someone. It reduces a lot of back and forth between ourselves and the customer because the communication's there, sizing specs, right? We put a lot of data out front so the customer can really see the product they're buying, and it makes scale possible without chaos. And we've hit that, and we've hit chaos at different points, but that's just a growth problem, right? That's one person trying to do too much. We need extra hands. And when we first started this, there was no e-com team. Now there's 6 people that work directly in e-commerce, from managers to artwork to builders to like the whole flow. So there's a whole team behind it. But really, it's InkSoft is the tool, and then we built our processes around what it is capable of to make it work for our company.
I just dropped onto BeeGraphix website, and just like any business owner, you guys are always critical of your own site, and you're launching the new one. But I think the existing one is pretty amazing. And if you go onto the site and you want to, look for a store, and I think what was the one I went to, Detroit? I think it was Detroit Rugby. There's 1,400 stores on here. This is a pretty typical store. And can you explain the process, like when you're working with a customer and you're setting them up with their first store, kind of like your intake process and what you're providing them and how you're selecting products? And you talk a little bit about, you put together like a merch calendar for them. Can you talk a little bit about your process?
Sure. So we identify the customer type, right? A rugby, a football, a basketball, a nonprofit, a business customer. And then with that, we have an understanding of those customers. We template the stores. But what we mean by that is we create catalogs that rotate seasonally. We do a lot of pre-building in artwork mock-ups where as they're requesting their store, they will see sample artwork that they can get their school or team to look like. And that's allowed us to do is it's allowed us to launch faster, and then kind of hone in the details towards the end. So that process is all through our main website that kind of feeds that in to get every step built. And what you're looking at here is the 171st store. And this store, it has way more artwork than the usual one. But these guys do some pretty incredible stuff. This is the group out of Pittsburgh that does the air refueling. And they have some of the coolest shirts. One of the shirts was actually focused on in the Apparelist. Julia Saxon, our lead designer, did, but she showed how she used AI to make a World War II style poster design for the back of one of the shirts. It's one of the coolest ones we've done there. So I apologize. I'm trying to look into as you're going. But yeah, it's all about setup and flow, and artwork is one of the most unique things, right? Like, some of it's done for scale and speed, but some of it you can get pretty unique and pretty custom with. And we don't take it lightly because we know we are dealing with transfers. So we make sure that the artwork has show through, has half toning, has line thickness, so it prints and feels good when you're wearing it.
One of the things that you alluded to was templatizing. I think a lot of folks, if they look at like a general e-commerce platform, let's just say Shopify is the easiest one to outline. To do what you're doing here at scale with Shopify, it might be possible, but the labor lift on it would be pretty massive. And the reason for that is in InkSoft, every store operates as its own business. So it has its own set of rules, own contacts, own reminder emails, own abandoned cart settings. Every store operates as its own business. So if you set up a template store like what Davis was talking about, you can clone that store, and the product catalog that you curated for that type of store will come over. Doesn't mean the products are populated in the store, but the catalogs come over. Now, if you have the products populated in the store, you can do bulk art replacement and say every logo that has this United States Air Force logo on it, we want to swap that out with Army, Navy, Marines, and Coast Guard. You can do that. And that's what makes the deployment of stores in InkSoft so incredibly powerful. And frankly, without store cloning and bulk art replacement, the lift would be for 1,400 stores would be I think it would be a pretty big lift. I'm going to go ahead and stop the screen share for now, and I'm going to go back to the questions. But Paul, how have you seen the growth of online stores and on-demand printing change what your customers need from you? I mean, it's a different market. It's smaller orders, probably more frequent turns. How's that impacted your business, and what have you done to kind of accommodate that a little bit easier for them?
Well, I think it's really kind of a symbiotic relationship, Craig. DTF has changed the workflow that allows you to produce. So if you're running an online store and you have like multiple stores, I mean, you're going to have shirts that like you've got a black Bella Canvas shirt in extra large that could be sold on any one of those stores. And Davis, you're going to know more about this than me, because my sister and my co-founder who runs our production facility in Iowa, she's the one that deals with, creating the stores and things like that. But you've got that part of your inventory sitting here. You don't have to burn that right away. You can literally have your transfers over here and your shirts over here, and as orders come in, it enables you to just take print on demand and make the workflow and the economics work a heck of a lot better than they would if you were going to have to like screen a whole lot of shirts up front. And look, if you're doing a bowl game and you've got to print 4,000 shirts on an automated wheel that are going to be for the losing team and the winning team, and you're going to show up there, you're going to expect to throw away 4,000 shirts. You might make the unit economics work better at that kind of huge volume and scale. But you're doing something for a local high school, just being able to have, the transfer on one side and the shirt on the other, and then put them together as you need them and manage your inventory. It just enables a whole new workflow. I mean, as a commercial printer from our side, what we've seen successful people do is they'll oftentimes, gauge how much they think they're going to need in pre-order stuff and just have it there ready to go. And so we try to make sure that that those customers have, like volume discounts on things when they pre-order, stuff like that. And we always also encourage them, and this is kind of a tip that I think folks should take away if you're running a store. If you're outsourcing transfers, even if you're not going to use them for a couple of weeks, open them right away and look at them, because everybody, including us, makes mistakes. If you're doing online stores and you're keeping a shirt here and a transfer here, and you're going to pull and you're going to piece them together on demand as you need it, don't wait until you need it to open it. Open it up a couple of weeks in advance. I mean, Davis, you're printing your own, so you have total agency over that, right? You can just say, we messed it up. There's some streaking. Let's reprint it and go. But if you're outsourcing, think ahead a little bit and look at it right away. That's the best answer I can give to that question, because it just kind of falls into our natural cycle of business. And I see what outsourced transfers and transfers have enabled from a print on demand perspective. And it is a nice symbiotic relationship, and it's opened up the ability to be more efficient about your online stores. That's from my perspective.
Yeah, one practice I see that people are utilizing for more of a print on demand situation with DTF, especially the folks that are bringing in transfers, is they'll charge a setup fee for their store. So they might charge a $250 setup fee for the store. And part of that fee is pre-loading a set of transfers to stick on the shelf. And so they'll maybe order 50 transfers or 30 transfers from you. They'll put them on the shelf. They'll draw against those. And you have to be smart about how you batch the products in the store so that they work across multiple color sizes, size ranges, and styles. But it's a really great way to do it. And if you get caught short, you're only short the transfers, not the printed shirts. So that's a huge one. And also when you're ordering in stock transfers, the limit of your production capacity is the number of humans you have pressing shirts. So if you want a double capacity, you buy another press and hire another human, or you have you call it a wheel, but you have one of the basically they're automated. I don't even know what they're called. Has anybody settled on a carousel heat press? I guess is what the closest thing you could call them. I guess it'd be a carousel heat press or shuttle press, where it has two platens and you shuttle back and forth, so you can really increase throughput. So versus having to add another production line of printers, right?
Yeah.
Or an automatic screen press.
I mean, Craig, also there's one of the things we see too is you've got perpetual stores that are running, but a lot of times, hey, we've got a store we just need to have open for a couple of weeks, right? Because you've got, the team just went to state track. We need to open up something for a couple of weeks, right? And then you shut it. By the time you shut it down and all the parents have ordered the shirts, you know exactly how many transfers you need. You know exactly how many shirts you need. You order a couple extra because you're going to burn a couple. And it's nice to just be able to, know exactly what you need to order before you do, and then not take any inventory risks. So DTF's enabled a lot of interesting ways to kind of optimize your unit economics and your profit margins.
Yeah, and InkSoft will collate all those for you, so you know how many transfers to order to create your work orders, which leads me to the next question, Davis. So order comes in from an InkSoft store. What does the workflow look like from order through production through fulfillment?
Everything. It's actually even before the order coming in that it's important is clean data, is building the products correctly, building the naming conventions of the art files, the color setup. So the art files is so key. initially getting started, right? It may have not 1, 2, 5 stores. That might have not have been super important, but as we grew and scaled, it was ever more important. That order flows into InkSoft, right? It's in the core manager. It's getting grouped by deco type, dates, product type, garment type. There's all kinds of subcategories that we'll group that into. And then it is the goal of, once it hits that category, is how do we get this product out the door and touch it as few as times as possible, right? I guess efficiency isn't just speed. It's like reducing the amount of times people have to make decisions and have to physically touch the product before it leaves. And that's really kind of what we built our production flow around.
I don't know. I heard a speaker at the Printing United show would say, "Hey, if I can take 3 steps and make it 2, it might save me $100,000 a year." Right? So you've spent a lot of time making 5 steps into 3 into 2 through the course of your business. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and it's not just in one department, right? It could be in shipping and receiving. It could be how we get the goods. It could be how those goods get to the press, how the transfers get there. We've honed in at every traditional movement, how you can really minimize that time in between.
And Paul, you have to do the same thing making transfers. Obviously, the question that I have is really interesting to me. What you've done with your order intake. Your order intake process is the best in biz. And one of the things that is interesting to me is you just removed all the customer friction from it. So it's just a great, easy experience to save your files, go back and place reorders, to QC artwork when you upload it, to get true costs, to get like a feel for what it's actually going to print. Is it going to be a heavy feel on the shirt? Is there some things we should do to the art? You've just removed all that friction. So in terms of, why have you put so much time into that order intake and artwork handling side of the business? And why was it such a huge priority for you?
I just hate it when things are ugly. Like, there's a certain level of taste. And genuinely, I do. I mean, when Terry and I, we literally spent a year before we let anybody buy transfers from us playing this game called How Many Clicks Can We Remove? And we would work with it and play with it. And it's like, we don't need that click. We don't need that. We don't need that click. And I think, I don't know what the click number is now, but it's like drag, drop, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think within 5 clicks, you can be completely checked out. It's like, we're just going for as few clicks as possible. But I think the principle that is kind of based on in this industry, and, this is my observation of watching Terry run a shop for years from the outside and coming in with my perspective of like user interface design research and things like this, is that folks want less time in the shop and more time with their families. They, I mean, I hear this all the time from screen printers. They're like, I'm getting twice as much done in half the time and at half the cost from a labor perspective on things. But when they talk about that, the conversation always leads back to more time out of the shop, more time with my family, hiking with my husband or my kids, or things like that, right? And it's a real quality of life thing for a small business owner, because you're a small business owner. You're working on the weekdays, you're ordering in the evenings, you're getting artwork ready on the weekends, and we just didn't want to be a part of that problem. What we wanted to do was figure out a way to give people time back in their day. And I knew that we could leverage innovation and technology to help do that. And maybe it's small, like remove a few clicks here, remove a few clicks there, make it easier to reorder, meet people up where they're at with their artwork skills, and just help them out and make it feel like magic. Like with Apple products, taste. I always use Apple products. They have great taste, and taste to me means that somehow it just feels like magic. It just works. And that is an incredibly difficult thing to achieve. It's an incredibly difficult technical problem to make things simple. Once you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But man, the process you have to go to get there, I find it challenging. So it was fun for me, and I think it solves a real problem that has a real impact on people's lives. And so that's just kind of like my view on it. I just like beautiful things, and I like things to be simple and easy and intuitive and make sense. And it's a fun technical challenge to make that happen.
And garbage in, garbage out has never changed. And AI hasn't fixed that. AI has actually complicated that because I think there's just a natural expectation that if a bot's creating it,
Yeah.
that the art's going to be production ready, and that some of the worst art you get is AI art. And I don't think a lot of times end users realize that all the magic that has to happen behind the scenes. We talked yesterday in our pre-game meeting about using image upscalers and resolution tricks and color correction tricks. So there's a lot of things that you're doing on your end, Paul, for your own customers to get that artwork looking right. And Davis, you deal with that every day. And what's your approach to QC on artwork? Like, do you do it in house? Are you outsourcing that piece? Kind of a hybrid?
Yeah, so we will take any artwork that's available to us by the customer, whether it's a AI design or if it's a customer supplied PDF. It doesn't matter. It could be a JPEG, whatever. Our sales team is trained just to take what they have, make it easier for them, right? And then we don't tell them how we're making it better. We're just going to say, we're going to take this and make it right for you. We're going to hit the colors you want to hit. Behind the scenes, there's a team of artists that are using tools, whatever is best for that job, right? Whether it's auto sizers or upscalers or any of the above, to get that design set up for the perfect output for the decoration type. And do it quickly so the customer can see it fast, right? Get it back to their hands, get it something that's usable and make them happy, and keep the order moving.
Seems like both of you are doing concierge art services behind the scenes, which is pretty cool. Davis, you're always forward thinking. Both of you guys are. What's next for modernizing your workflow? What are you working on that you can talk about?
There's so much stuff, especially with all the AI tools out today, and if you follow any of it or any of the updates, there's a new one out every about 18 hours. Something's being announced. But automation's one that I don't think will ever go away, and it's is that fall under the art category, the order flow, the batching, right? Processes, standardizing it, right? Are they hitting max efficiencies? Are there better ways to do things? There, like one of our things, or even mine, is I would call myself a curious entrepreneur, where I want to know what other industries are doing, how people are getting to places, right? And that really drives me to kind of hone in and see what tools they're using to get there. The other part is focusing on systems, whether it's marketing systems, whether it's sales systems, whether it's e-commerce systems, whether it's production systems. It is building a better machine as a whole for the business with the core elements in it. And my role has stepped back a little bit from handling as much customer interaction as I started to do that, because I couldn't do both. But as we've built better systems, that's allowed me to train staff to step into the roles that I used to be doing. So there's been growth through the years, and it's just compounding right now. I guess the best way to say it, we used to run a mom and pop print shop. Now we're a small tech firm.
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of look at you guys in a similar, there's a lot of similarities between the two business models, but you guys are kind of lead with tech first. And I think there's this giant awakening that's going on in our industry right now, which I've been outspoken about, calling out our industry for being technologically stunted. But we're seeing a lot of curiosity that I think is being sparked by AI, where people are like, maybe I need to get with it. This old school brick and mortar mom and pop mentality is going to be a thing of the past. And if I don't at least start researching and looking at technology, whether it's through e-commerce or shop management tools, or that you're going to get left in the dust. And I manage all of the marketing for our sign tracker shop management software, and that seems to be a common thing when we have leads come in and they just have a general curiosity about adopting technology. And this whole conversation around AI is really what's kind of sparked their curiosity. With that being said, Paul, what do you see as the biggest opportunity for decorators to adopt technology, simplify, or modernize their processes? What is the real opportunity for decorators right now, your customers?
I want to give a helpful answer for people. There's one first opportunity is this. There's still a lot of pushback against DTF in the market right now. And for any folks that are startups or, entrepreneurs to folks in a garage getting going, I think that's a huge opportunity. I mean, I talk to people at a trade show, Craig, and they're like, we do screen printing, we believe in it, nothing feels better than this, and then we don't want anything to do with DTF. And the first question I want to ask them, I don't, but I want to ask them is like, can you tell me who your number one competitor is in your market? Because I'd love to reach out to them and chat with them. Because direct to film, like AI, it's a disruptive wave, and you can either decide to get engaged and figure out how to ride that wave, or you can let it, pound you into the sand. And again, that's my personal opinion about it. And so the first thing is just engage with it, because it is not going away. It's not a fad at this point, and it's the right time to be getting involved. I recently read a study that said DTF is the most disruptive thing that's been in the industry in the last 10 years at this point, as it's starting to mature. So that would be my first thing. The second thing, it kind of builds on what you and Davis were just talking about. I'm very much an AI optimist. But here's the thing about AI, right? It is making everybody a creator. And it's not just the wrestling coach's kid who's coming up with the design that then we need to deal with the artwork and help them out with that. It's also people in companies that are now contributing artwork, even in like a Disney or an ESPN. You're going to start getting artwork not from the art department. You're going to start getting artwork from somebody who did something using AI, and like being able to deal with that is something that if you can learn how to do that, it's a huge opportunity to just make your customers happy, because it's great that all these people are creators, but it's creating an interesting opportunity to meet them where they're at and say, yeah, I'll do that artwork, and you can grow your business. So don't like run away from bad artwork. Like, accept the fact that these tools are out there and you're going to get more and more and more and more and more of it. And what we're trying to do is figure out, how do we meet them where they're at and allow them to be a creator and still get them a great transfer and a great product at the end of the day. So just shift an attitude from, oh man, look at all this crappy artwork we get all the time, it's so hard on me. Well, big deal, right? You want to make a great product for your customer, figure out how to meet them where they're at, and that'll create a strategic advantage for you just by having a better attitude about it. So that's two things I see as opportunities with DTF, and how AI is combining with the disruption of the DTF market. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I subscribed to the T-shirt forum, and I was watching this post blow up on the T-shirt forum. Somebody posted, "What do you do when you get this terrible artwork from AI artwork?" And these are all screen printers. And what do you do? And one of the comments was, charge them the same artwork prep fee that you would if they took a photograph of a T-shirt and you had to recreate it. Talk about creating a little bit of friction with your customer. Good luck with that. So,
chaos is an opportunity, Craig. I mean, chaos is a ladder, and figure out how to climb it.
Yep, for sure. So last question, I always like to ask the question, what is the one piece of advice you'd give to someone that is getting into online stores with DTF fulfillment? And I'd throw the question over to Davis first.
The shops that win aren't the ones with the best equipment. They're the ones with the best systems. And if you know how to manage a system, or can learn how to manage a system, you're going to do well. That system's going to change over time, but you're going to be in a better off place because the chaos is going to be managed. So if you can set up the systems to run it, you're going to be in a really good place.
Shop management and a great e-commerce platform is one of the greatest systems you can have within your environment. So little shout out to Inktavo and InkSoft. Paul, what's your advice as far as somebody getting into online stores with DTF fulfillment? What's that one piece of advice that you give them?
You're in the B2B business here. business to business, think about how we think about this too. Think about how you can create value for your customer. And that value can be money, saving time, being more profitable, but focus on making your customers successful with the least amount of effort from them possible. And I'm kind of softballing that back over to what you guys do, Craig, but like being able to help a customer set up an online store and get that out to the parents and just make it easy. So like, give me the artwork. You've got the store. I can, like, my son, Craig, right now is on the Montana robotics team here doing the first robotics competition. And we're helping them do some shirts. They don't know what they're doing. They just know that they want to have merch for the parents. And if I can tell those guys, give me the art, pick a shirt, and then hand them a link and say, go online and order it and we can fulfill it. Like, that's a business to business transaction to us, to the robotics team that's doing that. They can go back and focus on building robots and winning the competition. And we can just make their life easy. And if you can create that value for your customers and make it easy for them, I feel like that's the best advice I could give. But that's just business 101. That's just customer service, customer care 101. Like, that should not be any kind of insight on how to grow a business. But it is so important, and a lot of people lose sight of it.
Yeah, I'm going to spin up your website real quick. So if you guys want more information on Pro Transfers, you can go to protransfers.com. Super easy to get set up with them. Just click on the Get Started button, get an account. I will make you one promise. The first time you place an order, you'll be pleasantly surprised at the ease of placing an order through their platform, and made it even easier to reorder. And can't say enough positive things about Pro Transfers and Paul and the crew and the team that he put together. So thank you so much, Paul, for coming and joining us today. And Davis, we will try not to skew too much of your web traffic with our InkSoft team that's constantly on your website, but kudos to you. You're obviously a very accomplished business person, pretty sharp dresser there too. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Craig. I was really happy to be here.
All right. We'll see you guys on the next InkSoft Academy. Thanks again for joining us.